Welcome to Financial Ginger. I'm your host, Jacob Johnson. Weird insurance/finance news of the day. The new Trump accounts are officially rolling out on July 5th of 2026. So no matter what your party affiliation is, red, blue, green, yellow, every child born between January 1st of 2025 and December 31st of 2020, so basically 25, 6, 7, and 8. If a kid's born in those years, so this might be applicable to you.
Yes.
The government will open a quote unquote Trump account. Well, you have to apply for it. There's a tax form 4547 where they'll put $1,000 into account for your kid. And you can add theoretically up to $5,000 a year more into it and invest it just like a normal IRA account. So it's taxed just like a traditional IRA. You as a parent or guardian can invest it. And then at 18 years old is your kids to use. They can use it for education, starting a business, or buying a home. More details will obviously be there, but you can, I think it's really, really weird. So if you, I don't know, let me know what you think in the comments. Is that weird? Is that cool? Is that interesting? Is that exciting? Yeah, let me know. Any thoughts on Trump accounts before we dive into it?
I share the same feelings. I think it's weird. All the things that you said.
Yeah, it's like, oh, either way, it's a free $1,000 and I don't know, go invest it in the market. It's cool as you can invest it.
It's right to my regular money, sure.
Yeah. Well, cool. Let's get into it. Today, I am very excited. I have Mary Ann Stenquist. Say it right. I usually check beforehand. She is a spending coach, which we'll get into what that means. Mary Ann helps ambitious women overcome overspending by identifying the emotions that cause them to splurge. Through her approach, women break free from the shop, regret, shame cycle and learn to align their spending with their values, not their impulses. On her website, she offers a free clarity call to help discover how you might be stuck in your spending, and also has a free spending quiz on her website that I thought was very interesting. Welcome to the podcast, Mary Ann.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here. It's a great studio, great opportunity to talk all things money.
Yeah, I love it. I love doing this. I love talking about money and helping people learn ways to use money better, right? Everything from home ownership to budgeting to investing to retirement. So yeah, it'll be great. Okay, I like to always start with a story. I call this Reddit fails usually. So I'm going to read a little story. This actually just has to do with budgeting, and then maybe we could talk about it, and then we'll jump into talking about spending plans and all that. This comes from user emergency-cancel 6198 on Reddit. So they asked, how do you plan for expenses that aren't emergencies but aren't monthly? I feel like I have a decent handle on my monthly bills: rent, utilities, car insurance, phone bill, groceries. I know those numbers. They repeat every month. I can mentally prepare for them. What keeps messing me up are expenses that aren't emergencies but aren't predictable monthly bills. Example, I decided to replace 2 tires, $600. Not shocking, not catastrophic, but necessary. Last year, I had a shocking $500 dental bill after insurance. A few months ago, it was car registration and maintenance. Around the holidays, I usually end up spending $500 to $700 for travel and gifts. None of these are reckless. None of them are messed up. It's just normal life. I don't know what to do. When they stack too close together, I feel broke, even though monthly my math works. How do people handle this? Love it. I want to go first.
Yes. I mean, you're more the expert in that category, but I want to pay attention to the difference between unexpected and unplanned. And I think there's a big difference there. Unplanned, that's on you. It's like you knew it was coming, those monthly expenses. You need to plan for those. And it sounds like the post, whoever wrote that,
They recognize that.
They recognize that. But the unexpected, and that's really where we all get tripped up. And I think that it's important too. I think a lot of people refer to them as sinking funds.
Yeah, sinking funds.
And just have that there, and there's no guilt. You can just put that money aside for when they do happen. It's really not a question of if, it's when, and then you're prepared for those unexpected.
Yeah, well, especially the ones that are more like a dental bill, right, or replacing your tires. Like we should be able to know what it's going to cost for those things, or anticipate them, right? Like for me and my wife, right after we got married, my wife's car died. She was driving up to school in Logan. Right. I know she moved all the way to Utah County to marry me, but still had more college.
Yeah.
And her car died like in the canyon on the way to Logan.
Yes.
Right. And thankfully it worked out. She had a friend that was able to pick her up, and we had towing on our car insurance. So we didn't have to worry about the cost of that. But then it was, we're going to buy a new car. like we spent some money fixing it. Like this could work, but it's just not reliable enough. It was like a 3-year-old car anyways. So unexpected, we bought a car, and thankfully, right before we got married, I'd saved a lot in a sinking fund for stuff like that. So we were able to just buy a car with cash, which most people can't do.
Yeah.
But the way I deal with this is I have a separate savings account in my bank, or you could do it in a high yield account with Fidelity or something, doesn't really matter. And I made a chart of expected annual expenses. So it's like, hey, Christmas, I expect to spend this much, right? It's not like, surprise, it's Christmas again. Like we know what's coming. Birthdays, I'm like, I want to spend money on my nieces and nephews. Here's how much I want to spend. And so I just compiled all that and I said, here's how much money a year I anticipate using for these. And every month I just automatically transfer some into that fund. And you can some people do multiple accounts. Like some people have one for their car and one for this and one for that. Like you can be crazy if you need to, but if not, it's just have a separate account. And then when something comes up, you have money saved for those. And I think a sinking fund, like you said, would be perfect solution to that because oil changes are going to happen. Well, unless you drive a Tesla, then you don't have oil.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah. Well, cool. Awesome. I like that. Super fun. One example I actually wrote down was if your car's probably going to be needing to be replaced in 3 or 4 years and you're like, oh, I need $12,000 or whatever, right? If you can mathematically, how much do I need to save each month? Just set it aside in the sinking fund just for your car.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully that helps. Emergency cancel 6198 if you see this. If you have questions that you want answered on Financial Ginger, you can email them to me at thefinancialginger@gmail.com or leave them in the comment. Awesome. Okay, let's get into your expertise. What is the difference between like a spending coach and a normal like budgeter person? I'm sure everyone's dying to know.
Right. Yes. So we definitely are complementary to each other. I work with the spending within the spending category that the budget allows. So I like to think of it as money management is a balance between spending and saving. And if you don't spend within your spending limits, you won't be able to save. And if you don't save within your saving limits, you won't be able to spend. So it really is this inverse relationship. Where I lie is in the spending. Why am I not able to stick within those spending limits that my budget lays out?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because I feel like, for me at least, a lot of spending can be, right, it's 50% finances and 50% emotions.
Yep.
Right? Like, I don't know if it's a perfect split, but there's an emotional side to most of our purchases, right? Like when you stop at the gas station on the way to work because you forgot to eat breakfast and you impulsively buy something there or whatever. Like maybe that's time management, maybe it's emotional stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. What are some of the common spending types you see? I know on your website you got like a little quiz about spending types. What are some of those different spending?
Yes.
I don't know, profiles.
Profile, exactly. So what I found is that there are different spending types or reasons for why people are driven to spend. And with that, I like to clarify that in my mind and in my experience, there's no such thing as a spender and a saver. There are reasons why people don't spend, but we all spend. And so where I lie is within that spending network, what is driving that urge to spend? And so I've categorized 6 spending types or 6 reasons for why we buy. And they actually correspond with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I actually created the quiz before I explored and researched about this, but they tie to our emotional needs that we need to feel fulfilled. So it was really kind of an exciting thing. I geek out over this stuff, but I'm sure you and I will. Don't remember this.
Dude, that's cool. I mean, I wasn't expecting to talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs today.
Yeah, I know it wasn't on your agenda, but yeah. So the 6 spending types, there's the necessity spender, the bargain spender, the emotional spender, the impulsive spender, the passive spender, and then the saving spender.
Mm.
So those are the 6 types, and they all correspond to an emotional need that we primarily value over all of them. And why I love the spending types versus a label of like spender and saver is because it takes away the guilt. It's not supposed to be a label. It's just this is the reason why I buy.
Yeah.
And what drives me. Now, there's typically a primary spending type, and then there's a secondary spending type. And so really, I mean, technically we're all the spending types at different times, but there are a primary and secondary that explain most, if not all, of our spending decisions. And it takes away the guilt and the shame, because if you have a need that's not being met, that's not your fault.
Yeah.
And you can change that, and you can meet it in more healthy ways. But spending seems to be the unhealthy way we meet it that doesn't fix the problem. It just perpetuates it.
Yeah. So it sounds like sometimes, at least in my opinion, sometimes just awareness of a problem helps you solve it. Like for me, some people, I'll say, you don't need to make a budget, right? Like maybe you just download your last 3 months of bank statements, throw it in ChatGPT. Yes, I'll say that, AI, and say, what did I spend my money on? Like, right, just by simply creating, it's like, oh, here's how much I spent on housing. Here's how much of that. Like sometimes awareness can partially solve the problem. Just by knowing, like, just when you see a number, it's like, oh, I spent $800 on eating out this month. That doesn't seem like it should be, right? Like that alone can change. Does awareness of your spending, like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
It always change it.
Absolutely. It completely does. And a lot of the times we're averse to the numbers. And that's where I come at it. I came at my spending approach from an anti-budget form, because I felt guilty. I felt shame. I felt like, well, I don't want to be restricted. And I felt restricted with a budget. And so I did. I came at it from, no, I'm going to fix this another way. And I found that awareness came after I realized what I was buying and why. That was really what I was wanting to know. And then I saw the number attached to it, and it was almost like a bonus. It was like, oh, I actually do have money that we can put towards things we want. Beforehand, it was like, oh, it's too expensive. We can't afford it.
Yeah.
We really could. We could have afforded it 10 times over, but the money was getting spent on things that we didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't want.
I like it because when I think about like the way I spend money on board games.
That's awesome.
Like it's I don't know. I mean, it's a cheaper vice than some people have. You know, at least it's not Pokemon cards. But no offense to anyone that collects Pokemon cards, I know they're very expensive. Actually, at a card show a couple years ago, I actually bought a bunch of sealed packs of Pokemon cards and just like kept them like, this is nostalgic for my childhood. I opened a couple packs when I was a kid, and I'm like, I'm not gonna. And then I was like, oh, those are worth 3 times what I paid for them. And so I went and sold them to someone. I'm like, sweet, that was
good for you.
Just like sat on the shelf collecting dust, and then I sold them. But anyways. Probably like I spend money, like I have some board games that I've put $500-600 into just like one game. And it's weird because when I look at like my wife's and I are like discretionary spending, because we our budget, we've got like, we call it guilt-free money, where it's doesn't matter how we spend it. We don't need to console with each other before. Like it's just, that's your money, do what you want with it. Like I don't care if you're buying drinks from the gas station, or if you're saving that money to take an airplane flight to go see family, right? Like, it doesn't matter how you use it. But where was I going with this?
I think just with that guilt-free.
Oh,
but why board games? Maybe.
Yeah, why? Yeah, that's probably what it is. It's like, right, we each have different way. Like where my wife, she has different things she likes to spend money on than I do, right? And sometimes, especially really early on in our marriage, we sometimes had some conflict. Like, you're saying we should be saving money for this, but yet you're spending money on this. And I'd be like, well, our goal is this, but look, you're spending money on this. And it's like, accept it. I don't know why. How maybe you can help with that.
Absolutely. I was blessed. My husband has been so understanding with my vices of spending, and he's been so patient with me. And we were approached it as it's us against the problem, which has been a huge thing. I'm no marriage counselor, but that advice has gotten us through a lot. And so we approached it as like, he would just say, he didn't make the conflict harder, because he was like, I know you're working on it. And I recognize that you're struggling, and I'm not going to make it worse by, adding fuel to the fire of like, why did you do this? And so that was huge. So number one advice is find a good support system, whether it be your significant other or friends, support group, therapist, whatever, is to have that support, because you really are trying. If you're feeling any sort of guilt and shame about your spending or money, you're already a step in the right direction, because you're doing something that you're trying to change it. You just don't have the tools. But the second is really identifying the need behind it. And that's where I find it's so important to get to the root of why. And we don't even have to go into like the deep emotional roots and causes. that's a trained therapist will do that. But you can just look at what they're buying and why. You know, when we buy an object, we're not buying the object, we're buying what it does for us. So with board games, that's a way to provide entertainment, connect with your wife, connect with your family, explore non-digital forms of entertainment. I mean, that's phenomenal.
I hate watching.
Fabulous. There you go.
Well,
that's,
yeah.
Yeah. So that explains it.
I like doing things with people, and I like thinking and not just consuming.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of exactly that. And, you know, and it can be very easy to say, well, you spent how much on that game?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like, that's what you value. So as a spending coach, that's a common misconception. I'm going to, you know, come at it and be like, why are you spending this much? It's like identifying you value that. Great. Let's lean into that. Let's find areas that you're spending in that you don't value, and let's cut those. Let's cut what you want to cut. And that transformation of identifying the need and what it's doing for you is crucial, because once you realize I value this, I don't value the other things, your desire to overspend on other things will change overnight. It will, because you don't value it and you realize that's not bringing any lasting value. Those coffee runs or whatever it is, that's not bringing me lasting value. I would much rather have the board game, or I would much rather. So once you establish that common goal of like, I want, and it could be different. I want this. I want my entertainment with the board games. You want trips or spas, whatever. Great. Let's, you know, either you cut or I cut, and let's get that together. Then you both feel fulfilled. And then it's not this like constant clash of like, you spent this and you spent this. It's more like, how can we meet this need?
Yeah.
Without finding.
Well, that clash probably is fear oriented.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's also emotional, just as much as the spending is emotional. Being bothered at spending, maybe it's the fear of we don't have enough money, or we're in debt and we're trying to cut everything out to get rid of it. And it's like, if you just white knuckle and don't spend money because you feel like that makes it worse, like you were saying, is like putting constriction. I found that when people try to constrict themselves that way, it's like trying to overcome an addiction. It makes it harder. Like,
yes,
get support groups, get the emotional side, have people even rely on, and it'll naturally become better because you're in a better emotional state.
Absolutely. And I think that ironically, the things that we do that make us feel good in the moment do the opposite. I found that when I was going out, I needed a break. I have a young kid at home, got a newborn, you know, going through all those emotions and transition. I was getting out of the house because I needed to escape. I wanted something that was selfishly mine, but, you know, that I was just doing for me. But those are the things I wanted. But what ended up happening is the guilt that came from the spending, the guilt from time away from my family. I wanted a closer relationship with my husband, who was there. It's not like he was gone. I was taking myself away from him and growing that relationship. And I've realized that over and over as I work with clients, the things we do are almost the opposite of what we need. And we're trying to meet it in a way that's tangible and that's quick. You know, I can go out and buy that board game. I'm not saying the board game.
Yeah. Where's your example?
Yeah, it's like I'll go out and just, you know, go on that trip, go on that vacation. And it's almost opposite of what we need. And so we need to really make sure, does our spending align with what we need and our values? And if it doesn't, let's correct it. Let's change it.
Let me tell you about a sponsor that I use personally, Prime 90. For years, I've used their supplements to support my health and performance. I take Prime 90 Complete Mineral Supplement every day. It's a broad spectrum mineral formula that fills gaps most of us don't hit with diet alone, supporting my energy levels, joint function, and overall recovery after the gym. Many people overlook how essential trace minerals truly matter. For me, this supplement helps a lot. I deal with restless legs, and sometimes my muscles just hurt at night and I can't sleep. Prime 90's Complete Mineral Supplement helps me get better sleep and gets my energy levels going in the morning. Prime 90's bottles are a 3-month supply, not 30 days like most brands. So go to prime90.com and use code GINGER15 for 15% off at checkout. If you don't love it, you're covered by a 30-day money-back guarantee. My favorites are linked in the description.
A lot of people say that overspending is a budgeting problem. I can focus a little bit, but I've read on your website that you say, and we've talked about this too, that it's a spending problem. Like, can you help us see the difference between that?
Absolutely. Yes. So I think it was Dr. Raj Beeke that said, overspending is not, he didn't refer to overspending, but he referred to just addictions and different habits we pursue. But it definitely applies to overspending. It's not a logical issue to be solved. It's an emotional issue to be addressed. And that's really where I practice and believe is it's an emotional issue that needs to be addressed. So budgeting, it gives you those parameters and the numbers, and you've practiced this. It's very logical based, not emotion. I will spend this to get to this goal. But spending is not on paper. It's not logical. You can justify any spending decision.
Yes.
Even if you have a logical number in your head, you have an emotional justification, and that's going to trump it. The brain wins every time, and and the emotions win every time, because for the brain, it sees that there's a problem that needs fixed. And if you're dealing with, let's give an example. I mean, it sees that you're having this stress at home, and it's like you can't get dinner on the table in time, and you've got 5 kids that need to go 5 different places, and it's like, how do we fix this? It's like, logically we can't afford to eat out, but emotionally I'm going to eat out because it fixes the problem. Everyone's fed. We save time. We may not save money, but that fixed it. And the brain will go to the quickest solution it can get to, and oftentimes that involves spending. and so emotionally, logically you can make the perfect budget, but emotionally you're going to go outside of those. And I think that it's important to realize that budgets are designed before you have a chance to spend the money and after it's been spent.
Yeah.
And so, and a lot of what you're supposed to do
It's looking past or forward, not out.
exactly. And what you're supposed to do is revisit that budget every time. But are you doing that in the checkout line? Are you doing that at the store? No. Like in an ideal world, yeah. But it doesn't happen in real life. And so where I come in is where I'm going to help you when you're at the store and making those decisions in real time, because I want, again, your spending needs to align with your intentions and not your impulse. And when you're in the store, impulses almost always win. So we're trying to disconnect that gut reaction, that knee-jerk reaction to just buy it and just be done with it, and then feel guilty afterwards when you didn't meet your budget.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, the emotional side, it's hard for me to even verbalize because sometimes it's so abstract to me. And I don't know if that's partially because of my training, right? Because my degree was in financial planning. So like I'm super focused on the non-emotional aspects of it. Or maybe it's because I'm a man. I don't know. Yeah, probably both. Probably a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I think we've kind of hinting at this, right? Like why do budgets fail so many people, especially, I don't know, you talk about like women that are managing households, which kind of tends to be more normal. Like why does budgeting usually end up failing them?
Great question. I think we were talking this earlier, that the phrase like just make a budget is very common. And I heard that over and over. And I was telling myself, well, just make a budget, just stop spending. And that implies a simplicity that may not be experienced. You may have tried and it should be simple, but it complicates things when you've got emotions involved. That's not to say that emotions need to be disregarded. Emotions should be involved in making the budget, because that's actually what drives you and motivates you to keep the budget going and meet your budget. So I think emotions are crucial, but where it gets tricky is that simplicity of like, oh, just make a budget. It's easy.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy. It's not always a logical problem to be solved. It's an emotional issue to be addressed. But the second piece is it implies that just make a budget implies restriction.
Mm.
And like I said, I came at finances a very anti-budget because I didn't want to be restricted. I was a new mom. I felt like I had already given up my whole world and my whole life to become a mom. My career that I loved as a speech language pathologist, I felt like I had already given up everything. And then it was like, you're telling me that I need to give up spending something that brings me joy? Like, no thanks.
Yeah, especially right from 2 incomes to 1 income.
Yeah, it was like I already felt restricted. I was already looking at the numbers and felt like I can't afford to not go back to work. But then it was like, you're telling me that I have to give up even more? that's a hard sell. It really is.
Yeah, and it can make it easier to overspend. I was thinking about the emotions just like while you were sharing that. I'm thinking, like, you're talking about value alignment. One of my 3 budgeting meetings I talk to people about is having an annual, like, what's our goal this year? And I think, right, making that the emotional part is part of the puzzle there. It's like, hey, if you align your values, right? Like, my wife and I want to finish our basement. That's obviously a financial goal. Well, why do we want it finished? Well, that's the year. I think that specifically for us has made it easier because it's like, oh, when I'm avoiding spending my money on this impulse right now, I'm able to remember, well, we have a goal to finish our basement, right? Like, if we're able to control ourselves in a certain way, because then it's not about the numbers. It's about having a higher power, for lack of a better phrase for it, right?
Yes.
Like something that you're aiming towards. I don't know how familiar you are with Jordan Peterson as a Canadian psychologist, but he always says about humans are beings that like to aim. And if we don't aim, we wander. And it's kind of like the Cheshire Cat. You know, it's like, if you don't have somewhere you're going, who cares? Like, if your mortgage is paid and you don't have debt that's like, you know, actively working against you in certain negative ways or whatever, if it's paid and you've got extra money in your pocket, like, who cares if you spend it? Unless you've got something else you'd rather be doing with it. I think that's why people feel guilty.
Yes.
Is because they know there should be something, but maybe it's not real enough for them. They don't have something they actually want to accomplish, like buying a house or paying off student loans or getting a new car or whatever that goal is that makes it meaningful. Something that you can say, because every time you say no to something, you have to say, you're saying yes to something else, right? Every time you said yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Like when I say yes to spending my time on a podcast, you're saying no to something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think you nailed it. And psychologically, the brain is really bad at assessing value of one thing. So you need to have that comparison point. And actually, fascinatingly, from a marketing perspective, that's why they have small, medium, large, is because you have to have a comparison point. If you just have a $5 drink, it's like, okay. But if you have a $3 and $7, it's like, oh, I'm going to save money. And I'm not going to buy a large. I'm not going to buy the medium. I'm going to buy it small. Whatever.
Yeah, or it's only 50 cents more for
large. And you have that comparison point.
Yeah, right. You're anchoring someone to a specific point.
Exactly. And so you need to have that comparison point so that you can assess the value compared to something else.
You're anchoring yourself beforehand.
Exactly.
It's kind of like the DARE program growing up, right? It's like, if you decide now you're not going to do drugs, it's way easier later.
It's true.
If you decide now how you're going to behave, like, it's easier because then you're not having to deal with the mental load of that many decisions, especially like you painted this picture. It's like, new mom, got kids I'm dealing with. I've got financial stress because I've recently changed work or worked less or right, like all these things. And you're telling me I have to change it. Like, all those decisions make it hard to make other decisions.
Right. Exactly. And I think that I was looking at, I keep bumping this. I think that I was looking at what I was going to lose. But what ended up happening is all I wanted was some help around the house or a meal delivery service, something to lighten my load. But what was happening is that I was spending $1,000 every month on clothes and shoes and accessories, things that I didn't really value because I was drowning, but I didn't recognize I was drowning. My spending was reflecting this lost person that I was. I was buying clothes for a day at the office. I was buying clothes for my speech pathologist career. I was buying that person because I had lost a sense of who I was and I was trying to figure out who I was. And that's what I find so fascinating, is that our spending tells a story. And to your point of having a comparison point, to bring numbers into it, you say yes to something, you say no to something else. When you do say no to something, you need to write it down or transfer the money, put it into that yes account so that you actually see the number go up and you see that my spending has consequences, either good or bad, and it's supposed to motivate you. Because how unmotivating is it to say no to the blouse, say no to the board game, and then see that money just go to bills or see it go to, it's like, well,
say no to the leather boots.
Yeah. It's like, well, no, I'll take the boots and I'll eat my cake too. Yeah. And so you really need to psychologically.
I like that. So like when you have the impulse and it's in your Amazon cart, store, instead of buying it, like take that money and transfer it to the savings account or whatever.
Yeah.
Because then you still get that feeling of having used the money.
Yeah.
And satisfaction of having
go towards. I chose not to buy this. And as a result, that money went to what I want. And so, yeah, that actually people have used that. I work with and they do that. They actually physically move that number. Some people, they just keep a tally in their notes of like, I was going to buy this and they total it up and it's like, okay, well, I didn't buy this.
that worth.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, there was an app that did that. It was called like Pay Yourself or something like that. I can't remember. I used to know the owner.
Oh, I'd love to know because I would love to have an app that actually does that instead of just a.
It basically was like a digital piggy bank type thing where you could just like say, and you could like put reminders like, hey, when I finish building the shed this weekend or whenever I build it, I'm going to transfer this money to my me account. I can't remember what it was called.
That's great.
But it was great. It was something I knew in college. It was like 10 years ago. I'll find it and I'll find it. But it makes like a little piggy bank app. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of the name of it right now? I'll think of it later.
Yeah.
Or I'll find it and put it in the show notes or comment or something on. But it was a really cool idea where it's like, yeah, it's just connected to your bank account. You actually just pull the money out. It just sits there. And then when it reaches, right, tip yourself. I think it's called tip yourself.
Oh.
Yeah, right. The idea is like you tip your cab driver, you tip your, tip yourself. That's it.
Oh, good memory.
I think they may have been bought out by Earnin. No, that can't be right. At least that's what it was 10 years ago. It might not even exist anymore. But yeah, tip yourself. It's still around.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little green tip jar app.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it's also, I actually had an interview 10 years ago on my old podcast with a guy who made that because he came to UVU and talked to the financial planning students about it. But it was the idea of, hey, if you have an emotional whatever or want to incentivize yourself to achieve a certain thing, it's like, hey, when I finish planting the garden or rebuilding the fence or when I finish building the shelves in the garage or if I don't go buy myself coffee every day this week or whatever that short-term, then you tip yourself the appropriate amount.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
Absolutely. Psychologically, yeah, that definitely helps.
It feels good.
That feels good. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's really what we want. We want to feel good, right? We buy the drink on the way to work because we want to feel good or right, like when you're like I was thinking about you're talking about separating yourself from the situation with your spouse. You wanted to feel connected and instead you were spending money or shopping, right? Because there's nothing inherently wrong with going and shopping, right? It's is this aligned with my goals? You're doing that to feel comfort or feel connected or whatever it is. Yeah, it's so, money is the weirdest thing ever.
It is.
Like to be a 14th century peasant who didn't have to worry about money and had to learn about malaria and dying from stuff like that instead. But like, I don't know, money changes so much.
It does. It does. And it can be a tool. It really can. And this whole journey, what it's taught me has been money is a tool. It's not something to be afraid of, ashamed of. It can be empowering and information is good. You're just acquiring information. It's not anything to be ashamed about. But I also think to your point, you brought up guilt and shame. And that's something that I really like to reframe with people is the emotion of shame keeps us stuck and it keeps us hiding. We're ashamed of what we're doing. As a result, we're going to either keep doing it in secret or we're going to stop and just, stay stuck. But guilt, actually, the emotion of guilt, fascinatingly enough, it's our brain's way of communicating that what we're doing doesn't align with our values. And what it's supposed to do is move us towards changing that and aligning to our values. But, we get stuck sometimes because it's like, I feel guilty about what I'm doing. What is my value? That's where you need to start. It's like, what did I just buy? What do I feel guilty about? Doesn't even have to be with buying. What do I feel guilty about? What value do I value more? What doesn't align in my values? What did I do that doesn't align with my values? And with spending, what did I buy that doesn't align with my values?
Yeah.
And that takes away, you're not even looking at the numbers. It can be a $5 thing. It can be a 5-cent thing. Oh, that doesn't exist anymore. A 50-cent thing.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. The number doesn't matter. It's what was I trying to buy?
Yeah. Well, it's funny as well because, right, culturally, we there's a belief that women tend to be the bigger spenders. I mean, overall, right, obviously, if you're at home and you're making the mortgage payment or you're buying groceries for the household or whatever, you are actually spending more money. But
Yeah.
when it comes to discretionary money, like the buying toys or things for yourself, the data actually shows men, husbands in marriages tend to actually spend more.
Yeah.
And why? It's because their discretionary purchases tend to be larger, right? Like buying a truck where you already have 2 cars, buying a third vehicle. Okay, it's not, $7 coffees 15 times a month.
Right.
But buying a $50,000 truck or $70,000 truck is a significantly larger purchase.
Yeah.
And the way, right, but it's not that either of those are bad, right? It's just there's different ways that we spend our money and different levels of guilt we feel about those sorts of things. And I find it interesting as well because there's a cultural expectations like, oh no, women are the ones that are bad with money. I'm like, okay, that's not technically true. Men tend to be more volume wise with their purchase because the types of purchases that they splurge on compared to women, which
right. And I think that's what's so fascinating, and that's what's so great about this approach of like no guilt, no shame, or it's not about the money.
how you feel.
Yes, it's how you feel about what are you trying to buy? What's the need behind it? And what I love, the next level is the justification for why you buy it. And if you can justify a $5 purchase, you can justify a $50,000. And so if you're really catching yourself, that internal dialogue, that's really the next step, is identifying the emotions, the need. But then it's catching on to that, I want this. And then that voice in your head's like, oh, I shouldn't. Like, we don't need it. We don't need the truck. I've already got 10.
And being aware of that, just creating a gap.
Yeah.
Carl Richards is a relatively famous financial planner, and he talks about the behavior gap. And he's like, half the time, the solution to a behavior gap and we're not acting the way we think we should is to just create a gap.
Yes.
Right. Have a pause and aware, I want to do this. And a little voice in my head is saying no. And just sit with that emotion, which I hate sitting with emotion.
I know.
Men hate that a lot. My wife is going to listen to this and think, wow, look at Jacob. It's talking so mature. And it's like, well, Mary Ann helps people talk. But yeah, right. Sitting with that emotion, that just sounds dreadful. But if it helps you feel better, because then you're going to act appropriately.
Yeah. And realizing that when you sit with that emotion, it lessens, it goes away. But if we jump to avoiding the emotion, go spend, go shop, go whatever your favorite thing is.
Courses.
Yeah. Whatever it is, it comes back. It comes back and now it's laden with guilt and shame, and because you did the thing you weren't supposed to. And so learning to sit with your emotions it's a powerful thing, and it's tricky, it's uncomfortable, but it helps us, sit with us, and yeah, that's good.
Okay, so my masculine brain says I want to give someone a to-do item. If someone's listening to this and they realize that they're more on that emotional or impulsive spending category, what's something that they could do the next day or next week to interrupt that pattern?
Yeah. We talked about the power of the pause, and I absolutely believe in that. And I encourage that with my clients and everyone, is to just pause before you're making a purchase and giving yourself that pause. Now, that includes seeing an item and not putting it in your cart, just pausing before you even touch the item, before you just pause, walk around the store. Don't walk around with it in your car. Don't think I'll buy it and return it later. Just pause and just think, what is it about the item that I'm wanting? I'm not buying the item, I'm buying what it does for me. What is that? So, if it's a shirt and you think, oh yeah, that style looks really great, or a kitchen appliance, just sit and okay, it's kitchen appliance. That's going to get me this thing. It's going to make cooking faster. Okay, well, do I have something at home that already does that I haven't used? Do I use this item a lot and I just need another? You can kind of logic your way through things, take the emotion out of it by giving yourself that pause, but then recognizing, what it is you are wanting in an item. So, absolutely.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with choosing to spend money out as long, right? Because you can also, in that pause, think about your goals and what you and your spouse, or you don't have to be married to have done that, right? It's what are my financial goals and what's right? What other money have I spent? There's so many things you can think about.
Oh, yeah. Just that pause really allows you to disassociate from that need to just buy it then.
Yeah, because if you're able to buy it and not feel guilty, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's a right end.
That's what we want is I want people, because I see people that are totally fine have enough money and they're freaking out about things. It's, oh no, I'm not going to be able to retire because of this. And it's like, you had the money, you can't spend it this way. Like, this isn't like you're making your life terrible because you're overspending. It's just like, you feel guilt. Like, I've seen that with people, and it's so shocking. Because when I was at UVU, I worked in the financial counseling center. So I was studying to be an AFC, accredited financial counselor. I never ended up getting fully licensed in that. But it was fascinating to see how many people were just like overwhelmed, even though they were fine, right? Like, obviously some of these were, broke college kids, but it's like, we had enough money that if I did go buy taco, it was like, it wouldn't have been the end of the world, but it was just so much fear of not being able to have what they needed. Yeah. Like, that they were controlled by that. It's like, it's okay to spend your money if it aligns with your values.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, I completely agree there. And that's why I love, like, there's this spectrum of, like, why people spend and their fears and their emotions all around it, but it can be broken down into like those needs. And that really, it kind of simplifies money in a complicated numerical world. It simplifies money and it motivates you at the same time to pursue. And then the spending behavior just follows. It's not this war. It's just you open the door and realize it just flows.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts about credit cards compared to spending with like a debit card or cash?
Yeah, I think very individual based. I feel my husband and I use debit cards just because we want to prove to ourselves first that we can use credit cards appropriately. And my journey it's been now like 6-7 years in the process, and I'm still learning what my habits are, because once a spender, always a spender. You really have to.
We're all spenders.
We're all spenders, exactly. And so I think it's very, very individual based, but knowing your habits. So I learned for me that credit cards were out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Because they were connected. They weren't connected to the bank account. You had to pay them every month, and they really were out of sight, out of mind. And even if you have automatic payments, which we did, you're not seeing the spending as it's happening.
It separates the emotional high of spending the money from the emotional pain of paying for it. Or if you have to pay for the blouse in the moment or the leather boots, right? Like, you feel that because you're seeing, it's your bank card. Okay.
Yeah. Because I was looking at the number going, oh my gosh, we spent how much on the Amazon card or whatever. And then it was like, well, we're already so far gone that what's one more purchase, like that. Those are the things I was telling myself. And so I realized, with that being my baseline of like how I deal with credit cards, we do have a credit card, but I've had to adjust accordingly. So I have to, so that's why I say it's very individual based. I'm not going to come out and say like, no credit card, because everyone's different. And credit cards are a great tool.
Yeah.
But if they're doing more harm than good, if they're
30% interest rates bad.
Yeah.
If you're paying interest.
Yeah. Or you don't get the points for the 30% interest rates. Yeah. There's probably a way that you can get the benefits without such high fees. Yeah, that's kind of resume. Exactly.
When I get started with people on budgeting, I one of the other readings is a weekly one where it's just, hey, touching base, evaluating, right? It's not as good as in the moment, which is why budgeting sometimes isn't that helpful, as we've talked about. But it's like once a week, if you do have credit cards, you should be paying the balance down to zero.
Absolutely.
Right? Because then you're connecting more of the spending with the paying for it. And it just, the closer you can get to that. In fact, when I first got a credit card, because my parents were Dave Ramsey people, they paid off my house when I was a kid, my parents' house, they paid off their house. They got rid of all their credit cards. When they added on to their house when I was a teenager, they did it with cash, I found out. Right? Like they were that sort of mentality. We're not going to have debt. We're going to get rid of debt as fast as possible, right? Fall left. And it's great. It's good for them. So when I got my first credit card in college, my dad was very, very upset because he was concerned. He's like, I don't want you to have problems like I had the experience personally.
Yeah.
And I seen, right, and coached people on when I was a counselor. And I've learned their tool. But when I first got it, like I would go spend the money on the gas and I would check the app immediately. Just it was there to see if I could pay it off, and it would be pending, and it pends for a couple of days, then it falls off. So I was literally checking my card every day just to pay it down to zero. I'm like, that was probably a little bit overboard.
Yeah, but
one problem over the other. I was like, that was still an emotional problem that I was dealing with about how I was handling it.
Right.
So just because you're not in debt doesn't mean you don't have a problem or have
exactly.
you're spending or you're budgeting or how you're managing credit cards or debt.
Quick pause. Financial Ginger is sponsored by me. If your insurance renewal just went up and you're not sure why, that's exactly why I exist. I'm an independent insurance broker here in Utah. I represent nearly 25 insurance companies so I can compare their rates and coverage side by side and show you your options clearly. When you call my office, you get a real person, no robot, no menu, just a real conversation. Email jacobinsuresutah@gmail.com or call and text 801-216-8444, and I'll review your coverage personally. All right, let's get back to the episode.
The point of a spending coach, as I'm coming to understand it, is this is the way to emotionally handle your money. It's not just about getting out of debt or if you are in debt or not. It's like you want people to feel good about how they're spending their money, and you should. You should feel fine when you decide to buy leather boots. You should feel fine when you decide to buy a new truck. You should feel fine whenever because you know it's in alignment with your values. And if it's not, it doesn't matter if you're in debt or if you've got millions of dollars. You can still be overwhelmed by how you're spending money.
Exactly. If it causes shame, it's too expensive.
Yeah. Oh no.
Mic drop.
Wow. If it causes shame, it's too expensive. Wow. That makes me think of Johnny Lingo a little bit. The whole, like how the more price you pay, the more value something has. And if you're paying with your emotional unwell-being, that's just
It is. Oh yeah, and that's what
I might steal that.
do it. Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and that's really where it's empowering is that, okay, I feel shame about how much I'm spending, no matter how small or big it is. I feel shame. Let's reframe that to I'm doing something that doesn't align with my values. And then you find money. You find money that you didn't know you had that you're actually spending on things that aren't giving you value. And then you're just feeling guilty about it. Like, that sounds miserable to me. I'd rather let's find the money. And again, it just follows suit because you end up spending less because you're actually fine tuning what you really care about, and everything else just falls into place or out of your life, out of your budget. So it's not important anymore.
Okay, one last question I want to ask about. I wrote this one down beforehand. Is there a danger in calling yourself bad with money? Does your money identity actually reinforce overspending habits?
Yes, I have experienced this, but I also work with a lot of people that have the same shame that I'm bad with money. It just implies it's a label. It's like I'm bad with money. It keeps you stuck, or it makes you think, well, I'm bad with money, so I might as well enjoy being bad with money. So it's a double-edged sword. Yeah,
Money's an inanimate object.
Yeah.
You can't be bad or good with it. Like when you were saying the tool thing earlier, I was thinking, and this is a little bit religious, so trigger warning. The same rock that Abel used to build an altar is the rock that Cain used to murder Abel, right? Like you can use, it's a tool no matter how you use it. Like you can use it for aiming, for worship, for achieving your goals, or you can use it to, I don't know, metaphorically, lose yourself,
Absolutely.
Either way, it's emotional. It's weird. It's so weird.
No, I love that. It's a tool. It's an inanimate object. Like you're saying, we're the ones that provide the emotional fuel and we get it. And
I'm bad with it.
Right.
Good with it.
But also, I found it so fascinating. I was talking to, she's a financial therapist.
Oh.
And so she combines money with therapy, which is a very powerful combination. And she asked me that on a podcast. She's a podcast host. And she said, what do you think about savers and spenders, about this label? And, being good with money, being bad with money. So then spenders are bad with money, savers are good with money. And I said, my philosophy about there's no such thing. And it's really just why people spend and the emotional needs behind it. And she said, that's interesting. I agree with that. And she said, because I am naturally a saver. And she said, I've been guilty of buying things because I am a saver. I'm going to I deserve it. I've been saving so much money. So, it all goes back to those needs and what we tell ourselves in the moment. And so it really doesn't matter what label you are, if you're good or bad with money, you're a spender, saver, or whatever. It doesn't matter. What's the need? Why are you buying it? So, yeah, I think that the labels can be destructive and they hinder rather than help.
They totally can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to, where was it? Oh, I don't think I have it on here. I think we're good though.
Okay.
Yeah. If someone is listening and I suppose I should is there anything else you wanted to talk about that I haven't brought up or was on your mind?
I don't think so. No, I really think we've covered a lot. We've covered
It's been a lot of fun.
really fun to just talk money and like the intricacies, the emotions of money, that don't get talked
Yeah.
about.
I haven't explicitly said this here. My wife is a therapist.
Oh,
So that's what her degree is.
I love it.
Is therapy, and she's a therapist. So she will love this.
Yes.
This, or she'll probably be like, "Wow, Jacob, yes, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite. I don't always do everything I preach." But the goal isn't to be perfect.
No.
The goal is to improve and to improve emotionally, right? Like, I suppose that's the label that I'm putting on myself. It's like, oh, you have to be perfect with your money. Like, no, I'm guilty of making, right? Like, here's a really funny emotional thing I was thinking about. A couple of years back, I really like shoes. And anyone that looks at this will think, really, you like shoes? You're wearing Allbirds with mismatched shoelaces. I like doing that. But I bought some Air Jordans that were fairly expensive shoes. And thinking about it, I think I was upset because I'm more of a quote unquote saver. I want to invest for retiring and buy real estate and stuff like that. So I like buy very expensive things.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, obviously I used my, like in our budget, we've got the money for me to use on whatever I want. But I used some of that money on buying a fancy pair of expensive shoes because I was like, we're not able to save as well as we wanted to. We had to adjust some things in our finances. I'm like, that was a stupid, like, I had never even worn those shoes. They're still a box in my closet and I don't wear them because I'm like, I don't want to wear these. They're the fancy expensive shoes. And it's funny because it's like, I made this emotional purchase partially because I was upset about a financial situation.
Yeah.
And it's like, how silly is that?
It happens. So it happens. It always grew up on us. And again, it was like that, probably that feeling of like, I deserve this.
Yeah.
We've been saving so much. And that's why restriction is so hard. So you've got to have those mini rewards. You've got to let the emotions in so they can motivate you. You're not like,
you got to tip yourself.
Tip yourself.
Tip yourself, sponsor me.
No, reach out.
I'm going to do that, like, literally podcast years ago. I can't remember the guy's name right now, but yeah, I'll talk to him. Well, cool. If someone's been listening and they're like, you know what? It would be great. I know that you have your little, on your website, where
The like clarity call.
Yeah, the clarity call. How can people find you? After your website, how can they get to where they can, meet with you?
Yeah, so I am everywhere. Become Unshoppable is my business name, and my philosophy is overcoming the urge to shop. So becomeunshoppable.com, and that has a link to my free quiz, a link to the clarity call. And the clarity call is just to introduce yourself and like see if we're a good fit. It's not a sales call. It's really just to like see if we're a good fit and if you're ready for further commitment. So anyone and everyone is willing to jump on and chat. I just love talking with people. I love just hearing that you're not alone is in and of itself is just so helpful. So I'd love to hop on a call and then just
Unshoppable.
Yes, become Unshoppable. Yep. And then the
links in the description too. We'll put them in there.
Great. Yeah, the free quiz for anyone as well. And once you take the free quiz, you get your spending text quiz result, and that will put you on my email list. So they'll get
little nuggets
of wisdom, and then an invite to clarity calls and things like that. And I do workshops and things like that. So yeah, just I'd love to connect, even if it's just on Facebook saying hi. Just
let me know when your next workshop is. I want to
do. Yeah, absolutely. It's probably gonna be April. So
awesome. Pretty soon.
I know.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on there.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's wonderful.